So welcome back everybody. During the course of my filming and working around here this week, I really started to realize how much money I'm able to save by owning my own mill and cutting my own lumber. So I kind of wanted to make this video a video highlighting a couple of the ways that I'm able to save money. We're working on a project this week. We're putting new decking down on the front porch, and we're just kind of starting the process of improving the front porch on our house. And I was just looking at the lumber, and I really started realizing how much money I would have spent if I had to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy the lumber from there. Between the floorboards and the 4x4 posts that we have to mill, it's several $100s in savings just because I've got my own mill. Now, if you live in a place where you don't have a lot of trees, or you do have a lot of trees and just really don't want to cut them down, which is perfectly understandable, or you live in the city, it may not be a very practical solution for you. But if you live in a place where you've got a good crop of trees that you don't mind cutting down and are willing to do a little bit of work, well, I'm not going to say a little bit of work because a manual sawmill can be very labor intensive. But if you are willing and able to sweat some over your lumber, you can really save a ton of money with a little personal sawmill. Now, this isn't a plug for Wood-Mizer, although with my LT10 I produced a ton of lumber with it, a ton of really nice lumber with it. I'm having a blast with my LT15 as well. But there are a lot of companies that manufacture sawmills, all the way from entry level to professional, that will certainly suit whatever need in the sawmill that you have. Really, you can get into a good small personal sawmill for a minimal investment. And consider, if you've got some trees or you've got some logs, or are able to procure logs from somewhere, you can recoup your $2,000 or $2,500 investment very quickly, because lumber is expensive, it's not getting cheaper, and the quality is certainly not going up at the big box stores. So we're going to cut some lumber this week. We're going to edge some boards, and I just thought I would do a video highlighting the benefits of owning a personal sawmill. When I edge boards, I like to start off with two like this. That way, if they don't match up quite properly, I can adjust the bed on the mill to make sure all the edges end up straight. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'll have to edge this one some more to get this curve, this wane off of it, but you see what I'm talking about. I've got the mill adjusted pretty much just right, because you can see there's no gap whatsoever between these two pieces that I just cut. That is the cut edge of those two boards, so now I know that I'm good to just put multiple boards on there, and it should do a good job of edging. Guys, it's been 3 days since we got those boards edged. We also got them planed as well. Howard and I got these put down a couple of days ago. This is the front porch on our house. What we did is we took up the old boards, we extended the porch out about 3 feet, and we extended the roof out as well to keep everything dry. Our goal here is to have a screened-in porch. The dimensions of this porch are 10 by 30, so we're going to have a pretty decent outdoor area that we can really enjoy during the cooler months. But this is just one of the ways that my mill helps me save money. I was able to cut my own decking boards for this. When I cut these logs, it wasn't my intention to use these as decking boards, but they ended up being a perfect fit, so we used them. Don't let these 4x4s in the middle of the porch fool you. We're about to go out to the log pile and we're going to cut some 4x4s, and they're going to end up being extended out to the edge so that we won't have these 4x4s dead here in the middle taking up space and being in an awkward spot. But this is just one of the ways the mill helps me save money. I would have probably paid $300 or $400 at Lowe's or Home Depot if I had to have bought this stuff. Of course, I'll have to waterproof it because even though it's covered, you're still going to get wind blowing moisture in. So I'll have to treat it with something, but that really kind of pales in comparison to the money that I'm saving as far as being able to cut my own stuff. So let's go out to the log pile and see what we can find. I think I've got some good pine logs, good dry pine logs that I can use for these 4x4s. So let's go get to cutting. I've actually got some logs right next to the mill. They're just kind of funky shaped, so we're going to clean these up instead of going out to the log pile. We'll just clean these up, get the little limbs that are stuck out the side, get them over to the mill, and these need to be cleaned up out of the yard anyway. So let's get to work on these. I think we can get what we need out of these. Now, as you can probably tell, these aren't the best quality logs ever. These are really kind of the leftovers that came off of good trees. But we will see what we can get out of them. A lot of times, the insides of these logs will surprise you. If we get anything out of this log, we will be lucky, but we're going to try. So that log actually surprised me. That was a crooked, ugly log, and part of it was actually very rotten, but we managed to get a 2x4, a true 2x4, something that can be used as a 2x6. It's actually something like 1 3/4 or something like that. Actually, it's almost 2 inches, 1 7/8 by 6. There's a 1x6 right here, and here's our 4x4 that we were after. So that log actually produced a lot more than we thought. These boards are very ugly because those logs have been sitting around for a long time, but they're solid, so they'll work just fine. So that log actually surprised me. Let's get some more logs on here and see what else we can get. Alright, so let's see what we got on that one. I believe, looks like we got 6 usable 4x4s on that one. Yeah. So 4 of these were true dimension 4x4s, and 2 of them ended up being 4 by 3 3/4. Well, no, that's not right. 3 1/2. So that's still usable to me as a true 4x4. So that's fine. I essentially just got 6 6 4x4s out of that one log. If you may have noticed, there was a cat eye or cat face, whatever you want to call it, on that log. It's right here. Let me give you a closer shot of that. So this is what I've always called a cat eye. Basically it's an area of genetic defect or damage that the tree had to repair at one point in its life. Basically it's just a concentration of heartwood. It ends up being very brittle. There's not a lot of structural value to that. However, this 4x4 is going to be used for very light duty, not really a load bearing post. So for my purposes it will work absolutely fine. If it was bearing a lot of weight, I certainly wouldn't use it, but it's going to be bearing maybe 20 pounds, 30 pounds, very little. So anyway, and it doesn't go all the way through the post on top of that. So that's certainly a usable post right there. So guys, I was pretty happy with what we got out of those 3 logs. I ended up leaving the 4th log for later because I really don't know what I need out of it yet. So we're going to leave it until I know what I need to cut out of it. We got 11 4x4s out of those 3 logs. We got a 2x4, a 2x6, and a 1x6. And if you remember, those logs are really not the prettiest logs ever. A couple of them were crooked. One of them had a rotten spot on it. One of them had a pretty bad cat eye on it. We were able to cut that stuff out and get down to the treasure that was on the inside. So I'm pretty happy with what we got. So I mentioned earlier that I probably saved $300 or $400 by milling those porch boards myself. Well, I got on the Home Depot app and I did some math. And I discovered that if I had gone to Home Depot and purchased the materials that I needed, the 4x4s and the decking boards, I would have ended up spending about $550 after taxes, and I wouldn't have necessarily ended up leaving with exactly what I wanted. That's one of the great advantages of having a sawmill. You can mill exactly what you want. You can mill the dimensions that you absolutely need instead of kind of being at the mercy of whatever Home Depot or Lowe's or your local sawmill even has got. To put that into perspective, to put that $550 into perspective, I pay a monthly payment on this sawmill of $209. I didn't finance it through Wood-Mizer, but I still pay $209 a month. So you're looking at about 2.5 months worth of payments that this sawmill just it paid for itself for 2.5 months, and that's pretty significant. Now, I'm not saying that a sawmill is right for everybody that has got a few trees on their property. You may be better off hiring a sawyer to come out to your house with their sawmill and have them cut up your logs there. You may be better off going to Home Depot or Lowe's if that's all that you need. You may be better off going to your local sawmill and seeing what they've got. But the purpose of this video was just to kind of give y'all a perspective of somebody who uses one of these things on a homestead platform for remodeling a house, for building a solar kiln, for milling boards, for trading with friends, for doing woodwork, for stuff like that. I've got the trees, and a mill just kind of made sense for me. For me, it almost would have been silly not to have purchased a mill because I've got a lot of trees and I've got a strong back still, and I'm willing to put in the sweat equity to make one of these things work. That's another thing. If you are looking at mills, just be aware manual mills will work you pretty hard and you're going to sweat. But if you're willing to do that, they certainly do have the potential to pay for themselves, and the potential also exists for you to make a little bit of money with them if you really work at it. But I'll put some links to all the companies that make sawmills so you can make your own decisions. Woodland Mills, like I said, probably makes the best value in small mills. Their entry-level mills are something like $2,100, $2,200, something like that. To put that into perspective, this $550 that I just saved by milling my own lumber, you can do 3 or 4 projects and your little Woodland Mills sawmill will have paid for itself. And if you decide you don't want to mill anymore after that, you can sell it to somebody else and get some of that money back. So you almost don't have anything to lose. Just be aware that you're going to sweat. So if you're willing to sweat, a mill, and if you're willing to sweat and you've got trees, a mill might make sense for you. But that's my perspective. I've had sawmills for about 2 years now. I've had a blast with them. I love opening up trees to see what's on the inside. I love making this stuff that I can use in my house or on my porch or in my shop. Or to trade with friends. It's just a joy for me to open up these trees and see God's handiwork on the inside. I hope this video helps somebody. I hope it gives you a decent perspective, and certainly hope you have found some value in it. But that's all that I've got. I hope that y'all enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see y'all next time.